Welcome back to this Diary of the Coffee Hunter's YouTube channel, where I take you around my world of coffee and everything else that happens in between. Predominantly things related to the diaspora relocating back to Zimbabwe. This takes me back to about a month ago when I posted a video where I talked about the dishonesty of diasporans that are returning to Zimbabwe, and then them either telling stories that denigrate places like the UK, where they've spent over 2 decades or up to 3 decades building some degree of wealth, which they are then using to settle back home. My issue really is against people that have recently relocated from UK or that are relocating from the UK, and they're telling these tales of how bad it is in the UK and why people shouldn't waste their time. The life there is not worth the hassle, the stress, and yet they're sitting on a pile of cash they've only managed to have by virtue of them being in the UK for however many years they were here. That's on one hand. And also on the other, I also talked about people when they relocate, the way they tell their relocation stories is a bit embellished, which puts pressure on those that are still out in the diaspora to think that they are missing out. And I was calling for us, both those that are looking to relocate, those that have relocated, those that are at home, those that have never left the country, to tell the story between the Zimbabwe environment and the diaspora honestly, so that people can make informed decisions. However, it looks like only a tiny fraction. There's a couple of, a little bit more than a couple of comments in the below the video that I posted, which I think they bordered on trolling. And I wanted to say a little bit about that. Normally, I do not address things like that. I just let it pass. But there is a part of me that says I perhaps need to do that. And by the way, I am back from Algeria. For those of you that have been following that bit, thank you very much. Last few videos have been about Algeria. You can check them out for yourselves. But yes, I want to thank the majority of you who have engaged thoughtfully with the video that I posted about a month ago to do with honesty. Thank you for the stories that you shared, your own reflections. I mean, that's truly inspiring to hear stories of people, whether they've decided to go back or they've decided to stay in the diaspora, and they're honestly giving their reasons why they feel that they are never considering going back because the UK or whatever station that they are at has given them so much. Now, as is with any open discussion online, a small fraction of comments kind of stray towards the trolling, like I said. It's only a tiny fraction. I would put it at 5% of the comments that were added to that video that are actually negative. The majority of them are positive engagement. Now, so today, I don't want to call it a clapback. I would rather call it a clarification. I want to address a few points that may have been misunderstood, and also explain why we must challenge misinformation online. There is something that has been going on, globally around the discourse online that is not right. And as Zimbabweans, we need to also be mindful of how we engage each other online. There is a saying about not dignifying something with a response. And I don't want to say I am dignifying the trolling that happened in that video with this response, but I think there is an opportunity for a general conversation that talks to who we are as a people against the Ubuntu Wunu ideal, the ideology of Ubuntu, or the philosophy of Ubuntu. You see, when falsehoods go unchallenged, they start to sound like facts. And in instances, silence can be misconstrued as agreement. So I just want to address that. This channel is all about constructive honesty. I set about sharing my world of coffee because I think there is a story behind Zimbabwe's coffee scene that needs to be told globally. But at the same time, I also live in a society and community that do other things. So I opened up the channel to some of my own personal experiences around, particularly around the relocation, around the work that we're doing in rural Buhera. I did that because I felt there is a need for diasporans to really connect with home, because there is, my personal belief is that it is a diaspora investment that has the best chance of really turning around Zimbabwe's fortunes, rather than just sticking to this foreign direct investment. I believe in diaspora direct investment, and a lot of investment has already been going in, and perhaps conversations that we can have here may begin to channel that investment towards specific things, or putting them in certain silos so that we can impact specific industry. So this is not a video to win an argument. So I'm going to keep the conversation as clean as and informed and rooted in truth as possible. First, let me clear a few things that may have been misunderstood in that video that I'm talking about of a month ago. What I did not say was the UK is great and Zimbabwe is bad. That's not what I said at all. What I said was that the UK isn't a bad place, meaning that our experiences there shouldn't be dismissed or rewritten negatively once we return home. Every place has its strengths and its flaws. My message was about balance, recognizing both sides of the story. And number two, I did not discourage people from returning home. I actually celebrate those that have successfully resettled in Zimbabwe. But I also believe in transparency, because returning home is not a one size fit all. So people must be honest in what they tell other people about their own experiences. By sharing these realistic expectations, we help others to make informed choices, not emotional ones. Number three, I have not set up stall to divide the people between those that are abroad and those that are at home. If anything, the opposite is actually true. I am calling for unity through truth. Oh, I like that. I'm calling for unity through truth. When we acknowledge each other's experiences without exaggeration or shame, we bridge the gap of knowledge and understanding. And that does not create division. Now, if you were to go to that video that I'm talking about from a month ago, where I'm talking about dishonesty amongst diasporans relocating, if you go to the comments section, you might not even find them, because they are buried somewhere in there, these comments that I'm talking about, because the majority were really positive and really good comments. But I'm just scrolling down here to see if I can find some of the comments, an example of the comments that I'm talking about, which are not really helpful at all. So I will go down. So yeah, so here we go. So a gentleman who calls himself Peter Tosh says, in response to the video that I posted, to the stuff that I was saying, he says, 25 years in the UK tells the story about you. You have been brainwashed enough. And then he follows that up with another one. In those countries, kids are uncontrollable. Is that life? He asks. Wake up, Mr. YouTuber. Yeah. So I was reading this and I was thinking, is this a question of somebody watching a video and then wanting to put a comment, and then the video comes to an end, and then another one, which happens to be the one that I posted, comes up, but because they wanted to say something, they just go to the comments section and then just throw in the comments that they wanted to post on a different video. These look like really lost comments. But what makes me think they were directed at that video is the person then is quite relentless. Now, it's quite, as I know I said things need to be kept respectful, but it's quite telling when somebody decides to pick the name of Peter Tosh for their handle. Now, Peter Tosh was actually considered a greater philosopher than Bob Marley himself, because they played in the same band. Some of his lyrics are actually more profound than the famous ones that became popular from Bob Marley when it comes to this whole black consciousness and conscious reggae, as they call it. So if you are going to choose Peter Tosh as your handle, I think it also demands that you apply some bit of critical thinking when you are responding to some of this stuff that goes on online. Now, I don't know what informed this person that, what I posted there suggests that I am brainwashed. And I mean, I've had to go back and watch the video and see where, it might, he might have been triggered, because I totally understand that people have had bad experiences, and people are easily triggered when, for example, for some people, if you just mention Zimbabwe, yeah, it just triggers all sorts of emotions, because people have had, totally different experiences when it comes to Zimbabwe and why and how they ended up being living in another country. A lot of stuff has happened. People have experienced different things, and that should not be dismissed. But however, I think if you're in that position, then don't come to a Zimbabwean platform that talks about Zimbabwe and expect not to be triggered when the very mention of the word Zimbabwe itself triggers you. So you might as well, steer clear of conversations related to that. Another comment that came through, I mean, it talked about, I can't even remember what part of the video that would have caused somebody to just throw a line like something like KFC, that's what you are used to and that's what you like, and you think that is progress or something. I'm just paraphrasing, and I think the person opens by saying, UK, and I'm thinking, what have I said that? Yeah. So again, it's just, there is a genuine need for us to engage each other truthfully and honestly. And I'll reiterate, just like I did say in that particular video, if you're coming from the UK and you're going back to Zimbabwe, I mean, there's no point in denigrating the UK. Just go to Zimbabwe, get yourself set up. I mean, if you've had bad experiences in the UK, yes, that may be individual to you, but it's very dangerous to then generalize, because people want to make informed decisions. People want to make informed decisions when they are looking, I mean, especially if you've been, 20 plus years in the UK, you're probably if you came as a working person, you are in the age range that is looking at retirement, and you want the best information out there, the most truthful information out there to guide you, to lead you, to help you to make the most informed decision about your future, because Zimbabwe is home. Zimbabwe is home. And I know people that have not returned. They are looking to return to Zimbabwe, but they've not had the privilege of ever since they left 20, 25 years ago, of ever going back just to visit. So when they are returning home, they are returning for the very first time, and they want to return for good. So if those that have had the opportunity of traveling backwards and forwards are not truthful in what they present and what they project about the country, then we are doing a disservice to our fellow countrymen who might otherwise be very willing to contribute to the building and the development of our beautiful country. What sets apart countries is not that they either have problems or they don't. Every society, because they are human beings, they are human being related societal problems that will be encountered by any country. But what sets countries apart is how they engage and how they deal with those problems. Civilizations are defined by how people treat each other, the level of which a country deals with its own problems, not by, shiny buildings or, cars that people drive. I had a nasty experience of being stuck for nearly 3 hours in Braeside, driving to Hatfield, trying to access Airport Road. And I couldn't imagine that if I was in the UK, I would be stuck here, because it was just chaos. And yet in the UK, people just know that, the idea is not going and getting there on my own time and everybody else can be late. But everybody realizing that if we are going to be late, let us all be late by 30 minutes. There's no point in me getting in time in another person, being late by 3 hours. So if we have the courtesy of giving each other way, of making sure that this one, it makes sense for this one to go first while I wait, and then I'll go afterwards. And my right of way, according to traffic laws, does not necessarily make sense, because all I'll do is come and gridlock in front of you. So therefore, it makes sense for you to go, even though I have the right of way. That is the difference. But the insistence at times when you're driving in Harare, and the traffic in Harare is avoidable. Otherwise, I want to thank you once again for being a part of this journey on the Diary of the Coffee Hunter. I don't talk enough about it because perhaps it does its own thing. But if you are looking to get some great coffee to brew at home, visit www.changamire.coffee. And if you are in Zimbabwe, because you can actually buy coffee in Zimbabwe now, you just need to go onto your mobile phone or your iPad or whatever gadget you use to access the internet, and type in zimbabwe.changamire.coffee, and you'll be able to order. At the minute in Zimbabwe, we are roasting and delivering to Harare every Thursday. So that's what we're doing, but we are hoping to expand that in the coming weeks and months. By next year, we should be doing something that is more visible as you go around the various urban areas of Zimbabwe. So why don't you also subscribe to this channel, like the content on it, and above all, comment. Leave a comment. That helps us to engage, to really understand where you are, what you like, what you don't like about what is going on this channel, whether this whole thing of switching between coffee and relocation stories is the right mix or not. Yeah, please let us know. We are also backed by the Rural Living Zimbabwe, an initiative that was set up to support diasporans looking to relocate and want to develop their rural homesteads. If you are interested in having a little bit more information, go to myruralhome.co.zw. That's the website, myruralhome.co.zw, and you'll be able to get more information and perhaps send a message to have somebody to go and look at your rural home, and with a view to assisting you to realize your dream. So otherwise, thank you once again. Thought I should just come back and say what I had to say. See you again soon. Bye.